But just that first scene of them smoking the cigars in the smoky back room is just too cool for me.
Welcome back to the Men's Adventure Fiction Podcast. Get yourselves hyped up because this is going to be a good episode. We're talking about Nathaniel, one of your favorites, one of your expertise, tobacco today. But where do you want to get started? Which category should we start in? And what comes to mind for you there?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that there may be no greater adventure fuel than tobacco. Although coffee's a pretty high up there. But, dude, I don't know. Tobacco and men's adventure fiction are like peanut butter and jelly, dude.
They really are.
Chicken and Alfredo. I'm not sure I could keep going all day, but it's just too fantastic. But I guess we broke them down into your three big options are pipes, cigars, and cigarettes, and we're gonna each bring a character to the table and talk about the importance of tobacco when paired with men's adventure fiction, dude. So I don't know, dude. What should we go from least healthy to most healthy?
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. And before we go there, I think you're right. You made a good point of like it's the perfect adventure fuel, because you're right. Coffee also is up there for me. But if I'm on an actual adventure, am I supposed to carry my cup with me and like climb the mountain, put it in my teeth and like spilling it everywhere? It's like not great to do that. You had the cool, deer skin the other day. That's cool, but probably not filling that with coffee. Right, it's probably there's gonna be some water in there. So it just makes more practical sense too to throw the cigar in, or the pipe, or the cigarette, and then you can keep doing your adventuring. You can keep climbing, hiking, jumping. You can do all this stuff. You could fight a guy with the cigar in your mouth if you really wanted to. So I do agree with you that it is a hands-off adventure fuel that you need.
Yeah, it's almost like the coffee starts the adventure, and then the tobacco keeps it going. Like you're like, oh man, that coffee's wearing off. Let me grab a quick pipe and clunk that bad boy in, start smoking a little bit. That kicks the gears back in order.
And it has been since the beginning of time, dude. Freaking Lord of the Rings. I haven't watched them, but I know that guy's
that's a good point. That's a really good point. I was gonna say, dude, the planning phase though made me think of the smoky back room too. So just thinking about sitting back there, smoking a cigar, drinking coffee, planning the next caper. It's fantastic. Which I think to that point, what we haven't even said yet is that coffee and tobacco go hand in hand, and you could do a whole podcast episode just on that. But we don't need to, because Timber and Smoke magazine, the first issue, has a whole article about coffee and the pipe and how they go hand in hand, written by I think his Instagram handle is Preston the Great. He's the guy who owns Tombs Hollow Coffee. Fantastic coffee made by a pipe smoker, so check it out. But yeah,
perfect combo.
It fires me up just thinking about it. I wish I was outside in the shed smoking a pipe and drinking some coffee. But we can dive right in. So when cigarettes get thrown on the table, who's the first person you think of, or first story you think of?
I think of Martin Riggs, and it probably has a lot to do with that iconic picture that floats the internet where he's cracking open a beer, careless, with a ciggy, dude. And it's just like
classic.
It going to what it says about the character, which is an aspect you brought to this conversation to me when we talked about doing it. It is an interesting thing that you can look at what a character is smoking, what he chooses to have as his tobacco, and how that does actually a lot of the times influence or say something about what that character is and who he is. And to your point, cigarettes are the least healthy. People look at them and they know that that's not the option if you're gonna pick the best one,
Right.
And Martin Riggs, that's the key thing about his character, dude. He's like, he's crazy, bro. He'll jump off,
Yeah.
he jumps off buildings. He has no regard for his life. He's not wanting to live. So he's the perfect dude to just be ripping cigs, dude.
Yeah.
Bonus honorary feature. This reminded me of that. Rust Cole is another great cigarette guy from
Yeah, dude.
True Detective, to just ripping cigs. And I think what it says about the character a lot of time is how just like it's someone who's been pushed to the edge, dude, and maybe past that edge, and they
Yeah.
just do not care anymore. So that's my cigarette guy. What are your thoughts on Martin Riggs and his cigarette usage, dude?
I think that's a fantastic one. It's funny too that both of your guys they're both police detectives, right?
Yeah, I didn't even put that together. You're right,
It's
dude.
funny.
That's his
Um,
cigarette, the ultimate police detective tobacco,
the police are
potentially.
so afraid that they have to be just chiefing on cigarettes. Um, I think that it was really good. When we were kind of like pre-planning this episode and talking about it, and you were like, "Riggs has got to be the cigarette guy, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I think it also went back to maybe last week or the week before when we were like, cigarettes look cool no matter what. And then there's some people that you look at them like, God, you just look like you're essentially strung out, and that's why you're smoking a cigarette. But then there's other
Yeah,
people where you're like, dude, you just got the cool factor. I don't know what it is. I'm not
right. You're
sure what to
pulling it
say.
off.
Um, and Riggs is definitely that, but he's also, I feel like, a combo of the two. Like you said, I mean,
He
the
really
guy
is.
literally is carrying around a bullet for just such a special occasion if it ever presents itself. So he has no regard for tomorrow, um, which makes sense if you're smoking cigarettes. But yeah, it's perfect. I think the broader kind of conversation of what happens, what a cigarette says about a character is so cool. Thinking that of that as like enjoyers of the genre, but also as writers, it's really cool to think about. All right, we take these three kind of main tobacco sources, and you can break them down even smaller, which we'll talk about towards the end of the episode. And then you like slip them in to a character. You know what I mean? Like it just shifts everything. I remember it's sort of similar to one time I was talking with my friend, and he was like, "Yeah, I can do a backflip and a front flip," and I was like, that changes everything about how I think about you. And the fact that you've never done them also changes everything about how I think about you.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, imagine putting that in like Daredevil does flips all the time. But imagine he never did any flips, and then all of a sudden he starts like spamming a backflip in the middle of a fight, and you're like, "Whoa, what the heck happened?" It's the same sort of thing with tobacco, because you can feather in a guy's like totally straight laced, has no kind of vices at all, and all of a sudden something happens in the case, and he's like, "Somebody give me a freaking cigarette. I'm dying here. I need something to pull me out of it." So it's like it can really be the
Yeah.
end of your rope. So super cool, super interesting.
Massive point, dude. Yeah, the writers can use, I mean, the whole show don't tell thing. You can use the cigarette as like the ultimate way to show the internal state, because if someone's taking their time, relaxing, rolling a cig, and smoking it by the fire is a way different vibe and different mindset
Yeah,
than
dude.
chain smoking one after the other, hunched over a desk. You know what I mean? It's like you can
Right.
really talking about how rigorously they're pulling and stuff like that can really say a lot about the
Yeah.
character and their moment, their mindset. That's a good point, especially for writers. I think you read any noir, you're going to hear a bunch of descriptions about them.
Yeah,
Lighten up,
dude.
dude.
For real. Speaking of, this is like kind of a bonus one. I remember, and this is what I think maybe if you haven't smoked cigarettes, you don't understand. And maybe if you haven't smoked cigarettes before they were classically known as killer, this is something that you've never really been fully able to grasp. But I remember in one of the Chester Drum books, he has like this long, prolonged chase scene where he's chasing a guy down and he finally catches him. And he's talking about how like his lungs are dying. He feels terrible. He just exercised too much. And he's like, I really needed a cigarette. And my first thought reading that was like, after you did a bunch of running, are you out of your mind? Like that would kill. Like you're dying for breath, and you want that breath to be smoke tinged,
And it's
or
smothered,
just
dude.
yeah. But that gets into like the idea that nicotine can work both as an upper and as a lower. Where like if you take it in gradually over a long time with a cigar, it can relax you and slow you down, and you can go right to sleep after smoking it. But in that scenario, the way that inhaling cigarette smoke goes into your bloodstream, it like shoots right to it, and it can be a pick me up. So that's what he, I
Yeah.
think, was talking about. So it's so interesting. That's like, oh man, I just did something really exerting, and I'm tired. Give me a cigarette. you know, yeah, I would never think of that in today's day and
Reminds
age.
me
But
of Green Street Hooligans, where the dude they're chasing those guys, and then he like is hunched over, heavy breathing. He's like, "Oh, I need a beer and a lie down." And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, I get you. You just want to chug a beer after you did some exercise.
dude, there you go. It's iconic stuff.
Classic.
But for my pick, I had a couple different options floating around in my mind. When you said roll your own, the first thing I always think about is the scene from Rio Bravo. I think we talked about it before on the podcast, where Dean Martin has the shakes and he probably spends like 45 to 75 seconds of the scene talking and like frustratedly trying to roll a cigarette and he just can't do it. And like halfway through him trying, John Wayne has like rolled one and he's holding it, waiting for him to grab it. And
Yeah.
Dean's just so like locked in. He's like, I can't do it. And so I think I'd be hard pressed not to say those two guys, but to kind of keep it in line with you, I'm thinking of Joe Mannix from the TV show Mannix, who's one of the coolest
Yeah, dude. You're
TV
just yeah.
detectives of all time. Yeah.
Did you just get a cool set of those?
No,
Can you
I've
just
had
send me
that
pictures?
set for a while.
Oh, okay.
The problem is there's a lot of things that I really enjoy watching that are just too old or too slow for my wife to watch with me. So I'm always like, all right, let's watch some Mannix. She's like, please don't make me do this. And I'm like, all right, fine. I won't make you
Yeah,
do this.
dude.
And then I'm always like, I'll watch it in all the tons of time that I have by myself. And
Yeah.
that never ends up happening. But that's the first 4 seasons. I think I'm probably 2.5 in there. I think there's like 10, maybe. It's a really fantastic show. Mike Connors plays Joe Mannix, and he's just the kind of a marriage of your noir detective and James Bond in one character. So it's really cool, really enjoyable show. And I honestly am struggling to think if he actually does smoke cigarettes, but I think him just kind of as like an archetypal character is so perfect. You did the police detective, I'm gonna go the private detective. You know, like
Yeah, dude. That is a perfect smoker right there.
yeah, dude, those
From
guys.
Rockford onward, dude. Any private
Yeah,
detective is gonna they gotta rip some cigs at some
yeah,
point.
and it's so like I guess it's a sign of the times too, because now if you had a private detective, there's no chance they're going to be smoking cigarettes, or if they are, they'll be like a real seedy private detective. But there was a point in
Yeah.
time where smoking cigarettes was like a classic thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
Especially if he did it with a cigarette case and a lighter, the way Mitch
yeah,
Mayhew
dude,
does it, like it really elevates it. People are like,
yeah,
"Oh,
it's
that guy knows what he's doing." It's not like, "Oh, look at this bum," you know?
yeah, it's so cool. It's literally crazy too that it was such a positive thing or net neutral, I guess, where they used to just buy the like freaking big old cartons of tobacco of cigarettes. It was probably like I don't know 500 cigarettes, and you wouldn't buy your cases. You would just buy the carton and you would fill it up in your own personal cigarette case. That's like beautiful silver
Yeah.
inlaid sort of stuff. It was just so cool. And back then, I've had the absolute pleasure and honor of smoking like 75-year-old cigarettes from
Uh,
the 50s, 60s, which is actually what inspired. There's the one Nate Colt short story where he's talking with the Chinese spy guy.
One of the best
And
short stories ever, by the way. I love that one.
thanks,
It's
dude.
got
I
some of the
appreciate
coolest dialogue I've ever seen, and just like fun, engaging dialogue. Really
I
great one.
appreciate that.
Go read it.
Yeah, it's on the Substack, but it features. Is your coffee okay?
There's something in there, dude, and I don't want to drink it. I don't know
Is
what
it like
it is.
a worm or something?
It's just something floating around. I'll get to the bottom of it. It's too dark
Maybe
for
it's
coffee. I
some
can't
sort of
see.
tobacco ash.
Maybe, dude. I didn't. Yeah, this was
What would
not
be
a cup I was
concerning?
used to seeing. This was one that was supposed to be in the back of my car for hiking and stuff. So how it got in here, I don't know. And I didn't check to see what was in it. So That's
Dude,
good.
that's a fire move there. Just
Just
grab
throw it
whatever
in,
you can
dude.
find. Sorry, I digress. But the tobacco in cigarettes from years and years ago was just straight tobacco. The only thing you
Right.
had to be worried about was like chemicals that they used to bleach the paper white, which could possibly kill you. But
Yeah, I
it's
don't want
just
that.
like today, if you get a cigarette, I don't know, maybe like only 50% of it is actually tobacco. All the rest
Is
is
that
random.
generous too? Is that
I don't
generous?
know. It seems like it couldn't be generous. Like, what the heck else is in there? If it's
Well,
less than
I
50% tobacco, that would be insane.
I know it was like a school poster, so I don't know the validity of it, but I remember there was
Uh,
like this school poster that always stuck with me, and it was like a breakdown of a cigarette, and it was like jet fuel and like all this other stuff that was in it, and I was like, what? You know what I mean? I'll look at it and be like, what the
yeah.
hell is this?
Well,
Why would I smoke that?
I have heard that one of the main differences between cigarettes and cigars is that, I mean, if you leave a cigar for like a minute, maybe even less than a minute, it'll go out. Cigarettes are designed to continually burn forever until they
Until
burn
they're
out, I
gone,
guess.
dude.
Yeah. So to that point, maybe that is the jet fuel speak in there. um, so back then, these guys were actually able to like smoke, and it. I mean, you're just inhaling real tobacco smoke, which is surely not too good for you either. But at least, dude, you didn't even have the asbestos filters on those bad boys. It was just straight up tobacco and paper. So it tastes really freaking good, especially if you have them when they're 70 years old, because a lot of the tobaccos in there were Virginias and sometimes burley tobacco. And the Virginia ages like fine wine. So you get, they're in like big tins that you have to open up. There's probably 50 in there, and the tin itself is what opens it up. It has like a can opener on one side. It's really cool. So you cut it
Wow.
open, and then there's a little pull tab thing, and it pulls it out, and the cigarette's kind of like whoosh, out of there, and you
I
can just
love this,
grab
dude.
one. Yeah,
That's
dude.
really cool.
Well, if we go to Vegas, which we're planning on doing this coming
Yeah.
year, we'll
We'll make
we'll
it happen.
scrounge some up
Make it
because
happen.
they're fantastic, dude. So, that, what are your thoughts on the old like Mannix being the poster boy, but just the private detective guys?
Yeah, I don't know Mannix as well as I should. I don't think I've ever seen an episode, but
I think
that
it might be on Tubi.
oh yeah,
I
I
think
love
so.
Tubi, dude. They've got all the cool old stuff.
Yeah,
You know what they're
they're
doing.
so wild with it.
They are great. But yeah, I think that there's some okay. So I think that is a great point of the cigarette kind of like classed up or like a disparity between the person smoking and what they're smoking. Sometimes is really cool if that makes sense. Like when you see the cigarette on Martin Riggs, it makes contextual sense. It's like, okay, that fits with what I'm seeing. The guy
Hmm.
has long hair, he looks disheveled, he looks insane, he's smoking a cig, cool. But when you see like a guy dressed in like a suit or, he's all made up and he looks nice and then he's smoking a cigarette, there's something cool about that disparity there. Same thing if you saw
Yeah,
like a super men's adventure fiction guy, which we'll get into, kind of like peak adventurer with a pipe, which seems like the classiest of them. It's like a cool, it like, I
yeah,
don't know, you get that bonus of it doesn't make contextual sense, which speaks to their Renaissance man thing where they have got both sides in them.
that's a good
And so I
point.
think for the Mannix thing, it's like, oh, I love that this guy is down to earth, rugged, kind of gives me that like laborer, cigarette smoke
Yeah,
vibe guy, but while being the detective who typically you might think of Sherlock Holmes pipe, and it's like
right,
I'm
right.
a thoughtful, think about this, but like, no, this is like the rough and tumble version of that guy, And I think that is why that genre is so cool. Is the rough and tumble private detective? That's where it's at, baby doll. You got
Yeah,
Magnum, you got Rockford Files, you got Mannix, like dudes that are also
Shell
some
and
tough
Chet,
dudes,
dude.
dude. Shell, Chet, some rough boys.
Yeah,
What does Shell and Chet smoke, respectively?
they both
Well,
smoke cigarettes.
Sig
In
boys.
fact,
All right, perfect.
it's a pretty recurring theme where Shell or Chet will talk often that on his like office desk there's a rack of pipes, and he always looks at them and he thinks like I'd probably be a better man if I smoked my pipe, but since I'm always on the go hunting down adventure, the pipe is like almost an anchor because there's this one woman that he kind of has a consistent on again, off again thing with, and
Yeah.
he always says like she's the kind of woman who needs a pipe and slippers every evening. Get home with a pipe and the slippers. That's the kind of man she needs. And meanwhile, he's ripping cigarettes and chasing bad guys all over the world. And so it's like the dichotomy of man where he's like, I could be this guy. And I literally have bought a bunch of pipes in the
Yeah.
mindset of like, this is who I am. But he never smokes them for, I guess it's convenience sake or something like that. So it's super cool to have that kind of like layered within.
That is so cool. And again, it goes back to this conversation of kind of the unspoken language of the type of tobacco you're smoking. Because it is true. I
Yeah,
mean, like
dude.
the pipe and slippers
Even
guy is a, go ahead.
even in narrative, like he's literally
Yeah.
thinking what we're talking about, right? Like
Right.
we've got it here as like, oh, this is a really like crazy thing to think about, and old Chet is sitting there
Put it
like,
into words, dude. He
yeah,
had
I'm
that
not the pipe
conversation
and
with
slippers
himself.
guy.
Yeah, dude. And it is, the cigarette is more of a drifter's, type of
Yeah, dude.
tobacco. It's someone who's not going to be anchored down. It's not the thoughtful, well, not thoughtful, that's the wrong way, but it's not the slowed down,
Right.
settled down guy yet.
It's
Cigarette,
certainly the most convenient too.
yeah,
You know,
quickest,
because yeah,
most convenient.
if you're chomping on a stogie, you're going to be chomping on a stogie for a long time, which at least now in today's day and age is a lot harder to do. Because I mean, back then you could have been smoking the stogie for the 2 hours of just walking around blowing it in people's faces,
Right.
because there were no
Like just
smoking
going
laws.
into
Yeah.
going into a coffee shop and ordering coffee while blowing smoke in the dude's face, and then just take your coffee out and walk.
That's too
Perfect.
funny. My old boss at the cigar shop actually told a story about that. He said he was like crazy job, like crazy aspect of the job was once a year you had to literally count every single cigar in the shop,
Ooh,
and we're talking about like it's got to be close to hundreds of thousands,
dude, yeah. What?
because you got to make sure
Oh,
cigars are the easiest thing of all time to steal. So you have to figure out the loss
yeah.
profit scenario, and you have to see how much you have in inventory so that they can do orders better. And there's like probably 10 boxes of each tobacco up top, and then each cigar maybe has like one box behind it, and then it has like a bunch of loose guys. So you're literally counting all the loose guys, and then you're doing the math on the boxes. So he said he was like deep, deep, deep in there, and he had been sleeping at the shop because he just didn't have time to go home. um, and he
Ooh,
rolled up to
brutal.
the Starbucks, and he was just ripping a stogie, and he was in the Starbucks ordering the coffee, and he was just so out of it, like, sir, you cannot be smoking a cigar in here. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess I can't be.
That's
Sorry,
so
let me
funny.
let me step outside. So he was pulling a
Wow.
cigarette move with the stogie.
Yeah, with
He
a
was
cigar,
just like
dude. Even bolder.
chiefing, yeah, chiefing on the bad boys. So sorry to digress there into a nice little stogie story.
No, I think
But
it's
yeah,
good time to go into stogies, right? Maybe we should. Are
I
they the
think so
second one we
too.
get into?
I guess
All right.
so.
Do you want to start us off this time?
I will, full disclaimer here. That was a joke about most unhealthy to least unhealthy, because when you get into cigars and pipes, you have to be working really, really hard to make them unhealthy, I think. I mean, they're probably not the best thing to be just getting secondhand smoke off of, but according to a lot of the research that I've done, which do your own research, don't trust me as the talking head who knows everything about this stuff. But there's a really like peer-reviewed famous study that says pipe smokers on average actually live longer than non-smokers. My wife and I have debated about this a bunch. She's like, well, it's just probably because the pipe smokers, if you have just the enough disposable income to smoke a pipe regularly, you probably are just wealthy enough that you are going to live longer, period. Which still proves the point that pipe smoking is a neutral effect. It has no effect on you. And then there's another article. If you literally right now on your phone, if you're driving, still do this. It's important. I'm just kidding. Don't go on your phone while you're driving. If you type into your search engine 1 to 2 cigars a day, it will pop up a review that like a whole peer reviewed article that says 1 to 2 cigars a day has no real negative influence on you. Once you start smoking 5 cigars a day, that's when it starts getting bad for you.
It's
But
a
brother,
lot of cigars a day, dude.
I think if
What are
you're
we
smoking
talking
five
about?
cigars a day, you're probably already living an easy enough life that it won't actually matter. Because what else are you doing if you're smoking 5 cigars a day? Just
How would you
you
not
gotta,
throw up, dude?
yeah. And
That's so
to
much
spend,
tobacco.
if you're average, even if you're smoking the cheapest cigars a day, they're still like $3 a cigar. So that's
Yeah,
$15.
dude.
Just
A day just
burning
on
flames.
cigs
Crazy.
or on
But
cigars. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. So the cigar, dude, it's essentially a big cigarette, but instead of being wrapped with paper, it's wrapped with premium cigar leaf. And there are no added fillers other than
And it's
tobacco.
freaking sick. You know what I mean? I think it
It
might
is
be my
freaking sick.
favorite of them because
Yeah, dude.
it's the in between, man, between the classiness of pipes and the badassery of the cigs. It's
It's
got both
true.
worlds combined, dude. And that's why I think I'm
Fantastic.
partial to the thin cigars. No matter when I'm smoking, who I'm smoking with, I always want to. The thinner, the better. And I mean, you're the guy, so help me understand. There's ones that are like legit. They look like cigarettes, but they're cigars. We talked about those. But what are the
Yeah.
ones that are like a little bit thicker? They're obviously not a cigarette, but they're obviously
hmm
not.
Um,
They're not a huge cigar. I like those too, but I don't know what they're called.
yeah,
Help me out.
there's when you get into like cigar sizes, I don't have them all memorized. I probably have most of them memorized, but those are probably either like Coronas or Panatellas, maybe. Panatellas, I think, are a little longer. But cigarillos are a thing, and I think that that is the size. And those can range anywhere from like your really, like you said, the ones that are essentially. I mean, at one time my dad was like, cigarillo wrapped in the highest glass paper. I was like, what does that mean? He's like, well, cigars are supposed to be wrapped in tobacco, but a lot of the cigarillos are just wrapped in brown paper. And I was like, oh, that's cheeky, but they do that to save money. But there are cigarillos that are just really, literally, it stands for small cigar, and that's what they are. So you might be
Yeah.
thinking about that. There's also the cheroots are pretty cool. That's when
Oh yeah,
both
dude, those are some
ends
cowboy stuff, right?
are already pre-cut, and the most classic one of those we talked about yesterday is the Toscanos. But there's a bunch of different kinds. Um,
Okay. Yeah, I prefer the smaller side for sure.
yeah,
Whether they're
dude.
so small they're like basically a cigarette, or are they the Romeo and Juliets that are like a little bit bigger? How big are those guys? Because I remember smoking one of
I
those and being
think
like, I like this. I like
those
that one.
can go. They can run the whole size range. They've got some
Okay.
really
They got everything.
big boys.
Okay.
Yeah. They've also got a bunch of different blends, but they do have a classic like tin that's probably about this big, and it's got like 15 or 20
Sick.
of them in there. And those ones
That's sick,
are the
dude.
smaller. Yeah, dude. Fantastic. So who's your character then?
Okay, so if we're allowed to do the smaller guys, like I said, I got to go with Clint Eastwood because that's
Good one,
what
dude.
made me. It's literally the one that made me want to smoke
Yeah.
cigars. And I remember when I was like seven, I guess I had to be 18, but I remember going to like the gas station for the first time and like trying to like buy Swisher Sweets or whatever, and
hmm
going back behind my house when no one was home with my friend and like smoking. I mean, I remember the smoke like getting all over my eyes. I was coughing so much. I was like, dude, I'm not cool at all. And like Clint Eastwood does this where he's able to just
Yeah.
hold it in his mouth and
He's
talk
got
and
the
do
swing.
that. And I'm just, yeah. And I tried it and I was like, this is impossible, dude. I'm coughing everywhere. I look like an idiot. Luckily, I've
Yeah.
gotten better. Not Clint Eastwood level, but I remember that was so funny. And then I didn't know that I was gonna get nauseous as heck, and I was so sick too. I was like, "This is.
Yeah,
Do I hate
dude.
smoking too?" But I was just a young boy then, and
Dude, I hate
it was me
smoking.
wanting to be him. But he was the guy. He was the one who made me want
Yeah.
to get into cigars, because I find nothing cooler than him in all of his westerns with the cheroot or whatever it may be in his
Yeah.
mouth. Just look so sick, dude. All the time.
It is
It's
super
so
sick.
classic Americana. He looks like the Marlboro Man brought to life.
Yeah, dude.
It's just so cool. And again, with the classiness of a cigar, elevates the whole action adventurer drifter ethos that he already has embodied with being a cowboy. And he's
Yeah.
rugged, but instead of choosing a cigarette, I think it's the more you titrate up that line and you do cigar or you
hmm
do a pipe, it's like, oh, that's such a cool disparity between the worlds that shows me you have a lot of depth. I like that. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the man's cigar vibe. It's very cool. What about you? Do you like that character? Was that one of the ones growing up
Yeah,
that
dude.
got you into cigars, or was that
Yeah, it
someone else?
certainly is. I remember. I mean, it's just so iconic, right? Like
It's so iconic.
you,
Yeah,
it's the perfect thing to talk about, like iconic. You know, like if you were to describe iconic, you would be like, it's
it's
like Clint
Clint
Eastwood in a
Eastwood's.
cigar, yeah. And they'd
Yeah,
be like, oh yeah, okay, I know what iconic means now. And that's it adds to the character too, because they say that, like I said last week, there's a lot of talk that it was the Toscano cigars, but I think there's another the Sergio Leone. I think he said something about like he got them at the airport in Spain and they smelled terrible and they tasted terrible. And he told me that he had to smoke one to get in character because the smoke got in his eyes and caused the squint. The taste overall just made him a foul
yeah.
tempered person. It's like, damn, so he was not enjoying them at all. Like this.
Some
I thought he
terrible
was liking
cigars.
it. Just the worst thing you could imagine smoking, which is funny because having that knowledge also kind of informs the character where he's like, I gotta do what I gotta do, and I'm gonna smoke this cigar, even if it freaking blinds me, you know? So he's just
Yeah,
a tough, badass dude. And it is, I mean, it is iconic. In universe, though, where he likes smoking them, what does it say about his character is a really cool question to kind of get into, you know? Where it's like,
right,
that guy doesn't seem like somebody who really is interested in many pleasures or like he just seems very business oriented, focused on getting
right.
from point A to point B and taking out
Pragmatic
anybody in
man.
his way. Yeah. So it's cool that he's like not smoking a cigarette because that's what you would think of as like the ultimate kind of convenience thing. But I guess back then you maybe had to hand roll those bad boys. But he's got those cheroots, dude. It's just iconic, dude. I love it. It's
Yeah, it
fantastic.
is. It's very cool. And to your point, what does it say about the character? Is it's a harder one here because I that's the thing about the man with no name. He's so
Yeah.
ambiguous. He's so like
He is
I don't
a
know, read
wild
what you
guy.
will into it, you know. But then I think someone like Dutch is similar to me. Dutch from
Oh yeah.
Predator chooses to smoke a huge old cigar, a very Arnold
Dude, the
Schwarzenegger thing to
big
do.
stogie.
So it's like, you know, what? Yeah, what makes that character want to smoke that huge old cigar? And it's just I don't know, but it says something about the character that makes him freaking stand out. At least you know what I mean. Like
Right,
we
right.
all can picture him with the huge cigar, kind of looking like an Al Capone with a
Yeah.
commando outfit on, and he's you know he's in the red shirt and stuff and smoking on the helicopter. It's just so iconic, and the
It was
cigar
fantastic.
to me is that perfect blend and my personal favorite of the types of tobaccos. And I
Yeah.
bet you if Dutch and Clint Eastwood met, just from being tobacco smokers alone and being cigar guys, they'd have a conversation. They'd
Yeah,
they
dude.
would freaking swap cigars. They would smoke together, talk together, and plan out the coolest mission in that smoky back room.
It's beautiful.
Because cigar smoking really is this weird like language and world that connects you. Because I
Yeah.
remember I was at the back of like at the back of Shauna's mom's house, my wife, they were like having this get together thing, and one of her mom's friends had like a bag of cigars, and I remember getting into a conversation. And when she found out I smoked cigars, we just got into a long conversation. She let me have one of them, and it was like
Dude, let's
made a
go.
new friend instantly. Got to smoke a new cigar and stuff. It's like this is
Yeah.
fantastic. You know what I mean? That cigar smoking can really just connect so many people. So
Yeah, dude. They
definitely
call
worth
them
getting into.
brothers of the leaf, dude. That's what
Brothers of Belief, dude.
there's a whole thing on Instagram that they talk about that.
That's cool.
If you ever see hashtag BOTL, that's what it stands for. Brother of the Leaf. So pretty cool. Yeah, dude, that's fantastically well said. I
What
I
character
think
do you? Oh, go ahead. I cut you off.
I think it does bring people together. That's really
Right.
enjoyable. But as far as character goes, dude, I gotta go. What's his name? Tommy D'Angelo from Mafia: The Definitive Edition.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think his name is Tommy D'Angelo.
It could be wrong, maybe not.
It's
But I
definitely Tommy,
remember.
right?
Yeah, it's definitely Tommy.
Definitely Tommy.
I think it's something Duh. Tommy Duh. Tommy D is what we'll call him for the rest of the show. One of my favorite scenes from there is they smuggle in, dude, a freaking massive shipment of cigars. And I remember seeing that scene and being like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever. And you
Yeah,
got them
that's
all
hype.
sampling the merchandise. And I remember that scene just being so like quintessential. The whole game is all mafia coded, right?
Yeah, it's
From
so
start
cool.
to bottom. It's already the coolest thing ever. But that was kind of like the most mafia thing because the whole game they're running booze, they're doing all sorts of illegal stuff. But when they get in the whole shipment of cigars, I think the next part is like there's another shipment and they get double crossed and you have to go into the warehouse and fight all the warehouse workers because they're all unionized bad guys, dude. It's just fantastic. I love those games so much. And he goes in, but just that first scene of them smoking the cigars in the smoky back room is just too cool for me. So I guess you could broaden this to the mafia types in general because when you think
Yeah,
of
man.
your mafia, you immediately think of cigars because that, like you said, it's. I feel like these guys smoke cigars like they're cigarettes, and they do it because it is a symbol of power and of like strength and of money, you know. So
Right.
they're like, "Ah, no, you're smoking a cigarette, not when you're working for me. Here's a stogie, enjoy."
Right.
You know,
Hmm.
it's just too Italian,
Yeah,
too classic.
great point. Yeah, they're elevating the experience and the show of money, the show of power, the
Yeah, dude.
elegance, the freaking I get to take my time. You know what I mean? Like the
Right,
cigarettes, dude, on a run, dude. He doesn't make his own schedule. He is punching a
right,
clock that
right.
is given to him. But the cigar guy makes his own schedule, dude. He does whatever he wants to do, and
Oh
so
yeah.
very mafia guy. And even I think of again, how the cigar to me is the mix of the two worlds of high adventure, badassery, and then
Uh
the
huh.
classier high side of things. And then you put someone like Scarface in there, perfect
Oh
person to
yeah,
smoke
dude.
to rip the cigar for everything you said, and for that idea of like that movie in and of itself is the mixture of like a high classy mafia film, but also a high adventure action film. You rewatch that movie, dude, you
Right.
got like the freaking Uzi fights, and there's a lot of like action in the first half of that
Yeah.
movie and like the final the final act with him and his giant freaking gun and
His
grenade
little
launcher and
friend.
shooting machine gun, his little friend, dude. Unbelievable amounts of action in that movie. Michael,
Yeah.
is that Michael Mann? Am I crazy? No, Brian De Palma did that one. Brian De
Yeah, yeah.
Palma, sick action all throughout the film, but also grounded as obviously a mafia adjacent film. A lot of
Right.
classier businessman meets businessman scenes. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
perfect tobacco for
Yeah.
that guy too.
It is a great movie and great cigar action. I love it.
Great use of the cigar.
Yeah. It's it is so cool thinking about like you got a character, slip him a stogie, he changes, slip him a cigar, he changes, slip him a pipe, he changes. So uh, I wonder what the actual like psychology type of stuff is behind it, but it's
Right.
fun to talk about for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, swap out. What's a mafia don you can think of? Swap out the cigar for the pipe. What are you going to
Yeah,
assume about him? What's going to change about him? To me,
right,
stereotyping it, it's like, oh, it makes him more thoughtful. Probably he like
right.
ponders ideas longer. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, a little
That's
less
just kind of
prone to fly off the handle, maybe.
yeah, yeah, like a
Because
little more of a
he has to have
reserved
more
juice.
patience. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or swap out Sherlock Holmes's pipe for a cigar, and you get Benoit Blanc. He's
Right.
always smoking stogies, which is interesting because it's like what was I'm sure with things the way they are, movie people, producers, production companies, whatever it is, they're probably like, please don't put any cigarettes or cigars or
Yeah.
back tobacco in there. So you have to know that Craig was like, no, I'm pushing through with the stogie, and which props to him. We ragged on him before, but I think that that's pretty cool that he's like, no, I'm smoking a cigar, and he in every movie he smokes a cigar, which is pretty cool. And I wonder how much it was like, okay, he is playing a guy kind of in the Sherlock Holmes footprint, and he obviously wasn't going to do a pipe because that would be way too on the nose or way too
Yeah.
similar.
Derivative of that.
Yeah, so it's so interesting that he's like, I do need some tobacco though, which pretty cool.
But back to like what the tobacco says, I think it makes sense that Benoit Blanc, when we're seeing him as a cigar guy, because with Sherlock, and I'm no Sherlock expert, so I couldn't
Yeah,
tell
me
you about it.
neither.
But I picture him by a fireplace, smoking the pipe while he's
Yeah,
recollecting what's been going on, looking at his notes, kind of
right,
put these things together, puzzle solving. But we see Benoit Blanc again, kind of punching a clock in the real world, in real time, in his job. So he's like on the move, and kind of the cigar, I feel like makes a lot of sense for that because he still is the high elevated pipe kind of guy, but
right.
he's working. He's not. I feel like a pipe would require more like I have my full attention on this real quick to like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I just suck at smoking a pipe, but I don't feel like I could
No, dude,
like
it's
going on an
tough.
adventure with a pipe. It is going to be out 90% of the time. I'm going to have to relight it a bunch, and it's
And
not
then you
going to be the same as if I just throw a cigar in and move.
just chewing on a pipe stem instead of smoking anything.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because at least if your cigar went out, you'd still have the tobacco in your
Tobacco.
mouth. And it would essentially just be chewing tobacco, which there is
Yeah.
a big segment of the cigar population that just chomps on stogies, just for chomping on stogies.
Wow. Yeah, not
And
me, dude.
what that says about them as characters, I don't know what to say. That leaves me speechless. I'm not even sure where to start with that.
All I'll say is best chewing tobacco in men's adventure fiction is Jesse Ventura in The Predator. In
Yeah,
Predator. Yeah, dude. You've seen it?
I have
In the
seen it.
helicopter. He's
Uh-huh.
spitting the tobacco and he's asking people if they want some, and he's like, no. And what he says, we can't repeat here for YouTube would
Oh,
absolutely
yeah,
lose their mind. But he says
that I do remember.
one of the funniest things ever,
Yeah.
because they don't want his chewing tobacco.
When I think of chewing tobacco, I exclusively think of the outlaw Josie Wales spitting the juice at people.
Dude, yeah, absolutely classic. On the shoes, the clutch.
Yeah, killing bugs with it too, or something.
So he's the
Wild
ultimate
stuff.
spitty guy, dude. The amount of times he spits on something in that movie is
I know.
that's a drinking game in and of itself if you're a drinker.
Whose idea was that too? It's so funny. All right, but let's get to the our final challenger, the
Final
pipe.
boss, dude.
Who you got? What are we thinking?
All right, so I don't want to say who I'm thinking because I think you're gonna think that person, so I'm gonna go with somebody else.
I've actually still not decided who I was gonna pick. So you do whoever you have in mind.
Okay. Well, Sherlock is too easy, so I feel like we can
Yeah,
negate him.
get him
But
out of here.
and I'm blanking on his name, but the character that we talked about last week when we talked about freaking Guns of
Uh,
Navarone, dude, is one of the
Stavros, dude.
coolest. Stavros is one of the
Yeah, he's
best
fantastic.
uses of a pipe ever. Because he does, I mean, he's exactly what I'm talking about when I say that cool Renaissance man type feature of this guy
Yeah.
has got all the skills to be a man of action, and he's choosing to dress like that, and he's choosing to smoke a pipe. Like there's so much elegance and class to this guy. It's so
Yeah, dude.
cool, and I don't know. There's something about that that doesn't just make his character stand out because it's like, oh, when do I see a character like that with a pipe? Not too often, but if you look, like you said, to the psychology of it, I want to know more about Stavros, dude. I want to be in Stavros's world. I want to learn from
Yeah.
Stavros. He clearly is a man who's like thought deeply and has learned himself and knows how to express himself. Because if you're a true pipe smoker, I think you do have like you've done a lot of introspection and you've taken the time to know what kind of tobacco you like and how you like to burn it and what pace. And there's a lot that goes into it that makes me respect this character of Stavros before he's ever said a
Yeah,
word, just
dude.
because he's in that sick suit smoking that pipe. And it's like this guy has put himself together in a very not manufactured, a manicured way that he likes and that he wants to present as. And I think that's inspiring for us who look at the genre and it's like, how do we show up as these men? How do we show up in our real life in a real way,
Yeah.
that is putting ourselves together how we want to be presented? Because the eyes, everything people see, that's the first impression before we even get to open our mouths. People are
Right.
making assumptions about how you're looking, what you're doing. So I like the impressions that he put out right off the get-go. You look at one picture of Stavros and you're like, yeah, this guy means business, dude. And I can tell so
Yeah,
much
dude.
about him right here in this one still frame.
Yeah, that's really well said. Thinking about, like you were saying earlier, if I'm going to do some sort of adventurous thing, the pipe is not necessarily the first thought because it is so hard to manage, so hard to kind of like juggle. but he has that thing with him all throughout the entire adventure. I think when they get captured, the Nazi guy even talks about it, about how he's got a pipe, and he's like, "Why do you have a pipe?" And he's like, "I'm a pipe guy." So it is super interesting that you have him, and he's probably the most action-packed guy of the
Yeah,
crew
I would think so.
of
He's my favorite, dude. He's just
incredibly
fantastic.
action-packed guys. Yeah, the need was like, give me the best guys, the toughest guys, the most action-oriented characters, and Stavros, I think, is the leader of the pack, and he's smoking the most patient, challenging, like harder to do thing out of all of the things, least convenient for sure. So
Right.
that's a really good point that you bring to the table of him being like, your first thought is, okay, this guy's a brute, blunt instrument kind of guy. And then you see him pull out the pipe and you're like, okay, well, this changes everything that I thought about him. Like, I guess maybe he is a master tactician. Maybe he is a Renaissance man, even within being like this ruthless killer guy. So nice pull, dude.
And it might be who you say. So if it is, we can transition right into it. But it reminds me of Few Dollars More. Same type of vibe where it's like
Yeah.
Lee Van Cleef's character smokes a pipe in that movie, and it's another version of that. Just it doesn't just sit right with the eyes. It makes you look twice. You're like, hold on, this is a cowboy, bounty hunter guy. He's smoking a pipe. That's cool. That's
Yeah,
different. I like
dude.
that. There's some that says something about this dude. He also wears the classy like 3-piece suits and stuff. You're like, this guy. There's
Uh-huh.
more to this guy than I'm getting the pleasure to get to know right now. To get to see,
Yeah.
and that amount of substance that's suggested in that makes the character just that much cooler and that much more fascinating. You want to return to them.
Right. I couldn't agree more. And for my character, dude, I'm going ultra deep cut here. So deep that
Okay.
I don't even really know the guy. But it's the only thing I've been thinking of. I've been trying to think of someone else, but I cannot think of anybody else. But it fits perfectly into what we were talking about. So right now, grab your phone and look up Rip Kirby.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I don't even really know what it is either, but he is
But it's
sick,
the pepper
dude.
pipe smoker, dude.
Yeah.
Rip Kirby. This is a different version of Kirby, dude, from the video games. He's just
Yeah,
pink and
exactly.
running around with his harness.
Specifically, there's this absolutely, yeah,
Sick.
dude, look at that guy. And then, so he's a comic book character, but look even further. There's one of him with a damsel in distress, and he's got the gat drawn, dude, and he's got the pipe in there, and
Do it
he's
again.
wearing a hat. Yeah, dude, it's fantastic. I think that that's what's
That's
super
cool.
cool about him. He piggybacks right off of what we were just talking about. And here's the one that I'm talking about if you haven't been able to find it.
Yeah, dude, what a
Isn't
guy.
that so sick?
What a stud.
I remember seeing him all over when I was going through Pinterest looking for men's adventure fiction, pulp stuff. He would crop up all the time. I'm like, dude, who the heck is Rip Kirby? And so I did like a small dive into him. And one of the things they talked about is like, this guy is smoking a pipe and he's a two-fisted man of action. And they were like, but we put the pipe in here to really illustrate that he is thinking, because all of his counterparts, like we just talked about Shell and Chet and Mannix and fill in the blank of dudes just ripping cigarettes all the time. So that was a conscious decision by the writers to be like, he's gonna be a lot like those guys, but he's gonna have glasses and he's gonna smoke a pipe, and that's not gonna detract from his character. It's gonna add to his character. So
Right.
I think that it's super interesting to me that these guys were aware of this. I mean, I'm not exactly sure when this comes out, but looking at it,
I mean, it
I
looks
think
old.
this
Does
one
not look
says
recent.
9550, and he's a comic strip character, which is just sick. So literally in the quintessential cigarette time where every private detective's ripping a cigarette, you got Rip Kirby over here with the quick draw and the pipe clenched in his mouth, dude.
Dude,
It's
this guy
so
is the coolest
fantastic.
guy ever. Does he have a book? Because I want to read this guy
I
now.
know, that's what I'm saying. That's
I
my
don't read comic books.
tolerance
Come
for
on.
comics at period is really low. But there's another super cool character. You can look him up too because I think he also smokes a pipe. His name's Steve Canyon, and he's
Steve Canyon.
a Mitch Mayhew, Noah Redford kind of descent, dude. He's a 40s pilot, and he wears the sickest leather jackets.
Oh, dude, this guy.
And I have a couple of the like collected. Yeah, dude, isn't that freaking fantastic?
It's fantastic.
I've got a couple comics, but like I said, I don't really have a high tolerance for comics today. But back then, it is hard to read them because they're usually not colored in, so you're looking at a bunch of outlines, and the outlines are the exact same color as the text, and it's all on a white background with black.
Absolute gross blur in your brain.
Yeah, I mean, you were looking at I'll pull it up again. Even just this alone, like this is pretty clear, but that's hard for my mind to really kind of wrap around.
Right.
So when you get stuff like this, all the Steve Canyon stuff, and I think those ones they did. It was blue text and blue pictures, like green blue. So very hard to read. So the same thing with Rip Kirby, dude. Rip Kirby looks like he could be one of my all-time favorite characters.
He looks like one of the coolest guys I've ever seen in my life. Where's the Rip Kirby movie right now?
Yeah, where's Rip Kirby movie? Where's the Rip Kirby novel? Just give me more Rip Kirby
right now.
So I'm over here talking about a guy that I really know nothing about, but I remember reading about that and thinking it was super cool that they were thinking about that. It's like we talked about this whole time. Like you can come to any idea and be like, oh, I'm the first person to ever think about what tobacco says about the character. But these guys have been doing it for years. They literally, Chester Drum's thinking about it himself. The author himself had his main characters be like, this is weird that I'm a cigarette guy, not a pipe guy. I might get married if I was a pipe guy. I'm never getting married as a cigarette guy. Rip Kirby's over there smoking a pipe and outclassing his peers of all the private detectives around. So really cool concept that I think we should talk about more. And in fact, I think we got a little series brewing about this, which this was sort of the first episode of, but we'll refine it and drop it on you guys. But you're going to have to wait till we talk about it next.
Tobacco is too much of a broad. I mean, there's so much we're definitely not done with the subject of tobacco in men's adventure fiction. You know what I mean?
We'll never be done, dude.
As you said, it is PB and J. You know, it is right there. There's too much of a link. Even Rocky, dude, smokes his cigs, bro. Like he is a cig guy at his finest until he's not, and then he is again in the fifth film. So it's like the guy has tried to quit smoking several times.
Right. And get your claws.
He can't get away from it, dude. He's too men's adventure fiction.
Truthfully, though, I think about that all the time. I almost wish that I was addicted to pipes and cigar smoking because
just so you
don't
do it more.
Do it. Yeah, exactly. Now it's like I have the mental addiction where every once in a while I'm just like, dude, I need a stogie. I need to get out to the shed and smoke a pipe. But there is no actual physical or physiological thing where I'm like sitting there like I'm gonna die. I'm gonna lose my marbles. But all of that is to say, Luke and I, and Terrence, and I think a lot of the Veritas guys have all continued this cigars, tobacco, pipes, cigarettes back through their stories. So have no fear. Once again, Veritas delivers. We do make them like they used to. I think that's one of the things that we see petering out. I mean, you have the Benedict cucumber patch, Sherlock stuff, and that guy does not smoke a pipe at all. In fact, I think he uses nicotine patches, which is
blasphemy.
It is blasphemy. It's offensive.
You can't do that.
Not only is it wrong, it is like a personal attack on
disrespectful,
dude. Yeah, such a bummer. So you in this world where they're trying to get rid of tobacco, it's not.
We say nay
on our watch.
Tobacco.
In fact, we're doing too much tobacco. We're shoehorning in at every chance we get. I remember one of my friends he's a big pipe guy, and he was reading Treasure is My Trade, and he messaged me, said, the only real complaint I have is that Nate Colt didn't start smoking a pipe until like page 32 or 64. Like, what the hell's going on? And then he was like, admittedly, he really didn't have any time to smoke a pipe up until then. Right. So I'll let you slide on this one. But that's what I'm saying, dude. If there's a chance I remember one of the coolest scenes, one of my favorite scenes in Fire in the Tall Grass, is when they raid the like, I don't even know what it would be. It's kind of like a black market arms
Yeah.
dealer guys thing, and they get all the guns, and then Noah's like, "Now wait a minute, is that a pipe right there?" And he grabs it and he just starts smoking. And I was like, "Yes, dude, that's freaking peak." That's another thing we could even dive in on too. Noah is the Boy Scout. He's the straight laced guy. Doesn't drink,
Right.
doesn't smoke, but he does make an exception for a pipe, at least in two of the stories, because I think he's smoking a pipe in the body, right? When he
Right. He
when
is.
he's fishing.
Yep.
There you go,
Yeah,
dude.
dude.
It's Noah Redford approved.
No, Redford approved stuff. Yeah, he gets away from drinking in his life after the military and is kind of like the straight laced guy, always worried about like cigarettes. I'm sure he would be like, "Well, this stuff will kill you," you know. But
He literally like Sal hand rolls him the cigarette right before the fight.
yeah,
And
he
he's like,
smacks it.
"You're gonna need this," and he's like, "I don't do that." And Sal's like, "Dude, I just rolled the cigarette. What the heck's wrong?"
Right, he is that guy. But the pipe, yeah, is the perfect one for him because it's that more thoughtful. You don't even
Yeah,
have to
dude.
really inhale it. You just can puff on it, and it's just
Oh
the
yeah.
you get a little taste of the tobacco, and it's doing a little bit of its job, but you're not really, you know,
The addiction
hurting
is
the lungs
kicking,
and
dude.
stuff like that. Yeah, because I'm sure Noah
I,
thinks he's all healthy and stuff. He's like, I don't want
yeah,
that in my
yeah.
lungs, but
Well, he's
you
a
know, meanwhile,
professional
he's
boxer, so it makes
right.
sense.
So
Um,
it's a good thing to look into what it says about the character, and if you want just like really deep, good tobacco knowledge, that's where you go to the Nate Colt books, dude. Because you've,
thank
like you
you.
said, in that short story alone or in the novels, not only will you get the generic references like with me, where I'll be like pipe, you'll be like what he's smoking. You know what I mean? And you can get some
Yeah.
recommendations that way.
Which to that point, we can go over. I worked out the six. So I think when we come up with this episode next or continue this series, we'll have six different tobacco types, and this will be ways of intaking it. And we're going to give a character or an archetype or a setting for every single one, and we'll trade back and forth. It'll be pretty fun. But the six different ones are going to be pipe and loose tobacco, which most tobacco, there's so much pipe tobacco out there on the market, but the loose tobacco is stuff like a ribbon or a shag cut where you have to do no preparation at all. You can grab your pipe, stick it right in the baggie and pack it, or pull the stuff out of the jar or the tin and just drop it right in. You don't have to do any sort of prep work. So that's number one. Two would be like an actual cigar, like a big old stogie, something more that Dutch would smoke
Al
versus Clint
Capone,
Eastwood. Yeah,
Dutch, yeah,
exactly.
gotcha.
Three would be cigarette. Then we're going to go four would be pipe and plug tobacco or flake tobacco, which is something that the plugs are literally like, they look like small brownies, and you have to take a sharp knife and cut off flakes. Or there's the twists, which are like ropes, which are super cool. Also have to cut off flakes. So this would be one that's like more, even more mindful, and you have to
Hmm.
take time in the preparation and do all this stuff. Five would be the cigarillos or gas station cigars or something like that, kind of like just barely a step above
Yeah,
cigarettes. And then six would be roll your own cigarettes. And so I'm excited. It'll be cool to have. We're trying to work out a couple recurring series so that there's something to have, like to set your clock by, more or less.
right.
Be like, okay, nice, something coming back in the podcast. But I'm excited for the first one of those, dude. We'll have to figure it all out. This one's partially inspired by the Get Pipe podcast. They do a thing called Tobacco Through Time, which really cool. They pick like warriors of all sorts, and then they give six different warriors specific types of tobacco. I think they do like your classics: Virginia, Burley, aromatics, Latakia, et cetera, et cetera. But that's all specifically pipe related. But we wanted to do a little broader with the different
Right.
types of tobacco intake, dude. So cool. So
It's
I'm
gonna be a fun
excited for that.
series.
Yeah, dude.
This was a good conversation, a good starting point. It's gonna make me think about how to get in touch with these comic characters to see if anyone ever wrote a
No,
novel or what,
dude.
because I need this in my life, dude.
I know.
That was real good.
Steve Canyon is kind of like comic book Noah Redford, and
Yeah,
Rip Kirby's like comic book Nate Cole a little bit, dude.
it's
So
beautiful, dude.
what have they been doing? Give us these guys in print of some other print.
Right. I don't want that
But
print. Give me this print.
drop your comments below. We'd love to hear who you guys are thinking for each of the big three, dude. The cigarette, the cigar, and the pipe. Who is your quintessential character who smokes these things?
Absolutely.
This is a fun episode. I'm excited for more to come. Like we talked about before, we could talk about pipes and cigars and tobacco of all kinds till the cows come home. And you should be seeing us at more and more pipe and tobacco events. So there you go. I'm pumped.
Dude. You'll definitely see us at Pulp Fest. So
I was gonna say, dude,
make sure.
and maybe we'll get a little cigar night or something at Pulp Fest, dude.
We're gonna make it happen. I'm excited to see who gets to make it out and we get to see in person. And like I said, we'll be ripping tobacco afterwards. Don't you worry.
Oh yeah. Maybe we'll even sneak some in during and get kicked out immediately.
Kicked out. Anybody want a cigar? You light up. It's just the whole room. Just, what is happening?
Dude, Manny might come in clutch and start smoking with us. He would smoke in solidarity.
Absolutely would.
All right. Well, we will let you guys go. Thanks for joining us for another week of the Men's Adventure Fiction Podcast. Always a good time.
Thank you, guys. Take care. See you next time.
See you next time.